Hey Terry, did you know that Morgan Wallen is the Taylor Swift for men?
But I like Taylor Swift.
I'm a Swiftie.
Welcome to the EMS Wizard podcast, where this week we're talking about EMS Week.
When was EMS Week founded?
I think the same year that you were born, which seems coincidental in the fact that wasn't a year before I was born, so the math doesn't quite add up correctly, and probably like 28 years before Kathia was born.
Well, so we're back to the John show is what this is.
Yeah, I
EMS
mean,
is about John.
You're our guest tonight.
I am. I'm the only guest. The rest of them left.
So I don't know how we got off track, but what I was told, this is what I was told, is that they needed a way to celebrate like an entire week after I was born, and they knew my destiny was EMS, so they created EMS Week. The only caveat to that is they said, well, let's do it in November. And so the very first EMS Week was actually sometime in November. It was put in place by Gerald Ford, who was a president. I know you don't know that, Terry. And then, like in 1992, which was the year I graduated, in honor of my birthday being in May, they moved it to the third week of May, and that's what it's been ever since.
I
So
was like in first or second grade there. Okay.
thank us all for the service of many. Happy EMS Week to everybody. And hopefully, when you're celebrating your EMS Week, you give old John a thought. If you listen to this, you had no choice.
Whatever. Kathia, I can't take this joker seriously. Kathia, to you, what does EMS Week mean? What is it? What is the significance for you?
For me, it's definitely encompassing all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that we put into our skill set, what we do every day, and just appreciating, like we do, the nurses, officers, fire.
We're following the nurses. Is that what we're doing?
What? Oh my God.
I mean, last week was Telecommunicators Week, and 2 weeks before that was Doctors Helpers Week. Thank you from the ambulance drivers.
So it's just being a part of something that allows everyone to celebrate our scope individually.
Is there a theme this year? Every year there's a theme. What's the theme this year?
We care for everyone.
Is that a we care comma or a we care period?
We care, period, for everyone, period.
I like it. I think we can make a movie out of it.
I don't.
What kind of it? Never mind.
Well,
be a horror movie, knowing John.
He'd be the first one out.
Correct.
What do agencies do? What do you think is meaningful EMS Week type things that agencies can do? If you're going to show appreciation, isn't it lost amongst most people as to how to accept appreciation?
The majority of people do nothing for EMS Week.
Why?
Yeah, so I get that the agencies are probably going to put something together and do it, but I'm curious to know is like what is it to feel appreciated to do that? I mean, is there a level of at what level do you get that someone can say, yeah, I feel appreciated? Yeah.
But why is it about appreciation? Why is it? Because when we talk about some of the other things, Women's History Month, it's not like, hey, you're a woman, here's a chocolate bar, here's a bouquet of roses, here is whatever it is.
I don't know what any of that means, but okay, go ahead.
I know, correct.
Okay.
So if we talk about Women's History Month, if we talk about African American History Month, if we talk about LGBTQ month, this is about, let's educate the public. Let's talk about the things that are happening. Okay. During Police Week, it's not about, hey, bake cookies and take them to the police station. law enforcement is talking about the things that they do in their community, and telecommunicators, they're talking about the things they do in their community. In public safety, the one that we know the most, Fire Prevention Week. I talk about this all the time because everybody can finish, John, you can't. Everybody can finish this slogan when we say, change your clocks, change your, batteries. And so we don't have a catchy slogan like that for EMS week. We should be educating the public. We should be letting them know about the EMS system, about the first responders, about the telecommunicators, about the nurses and the trauma centers. That's part of the EMS system. But hey, I'm taking this to you. We should be educating about it.
So
So
from
we
that
should be getting
perspective,
out there.
but so that's so you're saying it's not appreciation, it's educating. EMS week is about education.
It should be. And if we look at what they have for EMS week, I'll look it up in a second, but there are, like, for each day there is a theme of hey, this is a suggested thing for today. And the theme is not today bring your employees pizza. Tomorrow it's not throw an ice cream party. The next day it's not give them backpacks to carry their stuff to and from. And on Friday it's, give them t-shirts. It's, these are things in your community to talk about the entirety of the week.
So EMS week should be more of like an open house to the agencies in the districts, and maybe do fun competitions amongst the staffs. Get the community out there, is what you're saying, right? Like, just bring attention to what we do on a daily basis and how we impact the community that we service on a daily basis.
Yeah, and in Google AI,
Google AI.
the kickoff at the beginning of the week, and then the 23rd Recognition Day. I don't know what that means, but the 24th Remembrance Day. That's a time where we could be thinking and remembering the people who aren't with us anymore. Not to confused with Walter, Walter's not with us. He's probably not dead.
Yeah. Mark is also not with us and probably feels like he's dead.
Correct.
But so that kind of takes it away from the thought of, when I look at EMS week, I think of it being like an event where maybe the organization is showing appreciation for, like, almost an employee appreciation thing. And, it's sort of like, as an EMS person, we're celebrated for being the heroes that we are, as we do the things that we do. But to hear this spin on it, it's more of a, hey, let me educate you on, or let me take this opportunity during EMS week to highlight for other people, not EMS, other people, what it is EMS does. So that's kind of a different spin that I see on it.
So do you think maybe we should do a better job about appreciating our providers more on a regular basis, to bring that emphasis to EMS week, to bring that energy of showing the community what EMS is about that week? Because then they wouldn't need to have that EMS week. Like, your take on, both you and I, John, were on the same page of, it was about taking care of our people that week.
So I think it's that balance. A couple of pieces. Number one, are we messaging what it is that we do? And that's probably something that, being involved in our communities, when we talk with folks around the state, they talk about, they get that new county commissioner. Are they taking the time to meet with that new county commissioner? There's a new department head, so a peer for that EMS chief. Are they meeting with that individual? Hey, you've got a town council. You're that town-based EMS or that 501c3, because it looks a little bit different. Are you that fire-based? Again, that looks a little bit different in some of our different communities across the state. Are you taking the time to interact with them? I found the the EMS week, their resource, and where they say Monday is education day, Tuesday EMS safety day, talking about safety for the patient, for the public. Wednesday is EMS and children, but I like Thursday. Thursday, save a life day. So are we talking about stop the bleed? Yeah, Thursday is also stop the bleed day. So are we talking about public CPR programs? And so the other 51 weeks a year we should be appreciating. This makes me want to chase the shiny object over here that we talked about in Saving Ourselves Plus of retention. And I think that education and retention, if I'm just appreciating my employees, hey, we're doing an EMS week cookout and bring your families, and we're going to play cornhole, and we're going to play horseshoes, we're going to play whatever it is that we're playing, and have coloring games for you and your kids. Hey, you should be bringing your kids by. That honor roll child should be coming by the station 52 weeks a year, not just 1 week a year. I don't know. And I'm not going to say that I'm 100% wrong, because I think y'all have some pretty good things in with that. But I'm playing the part of John Wilson tonight.
I don't know what that means, but so in an effort to now, if we're going to say educate, let's talk about something different. Let us highlight some places we've been. So starting with Kathia, who's been at different places, in your travels or whatever. What are some of the fascinating places that you've been EMS wise? Now, you don't have to work EMS there, but obviously me and Terry's traveled the state. So to pull some of our favorite places to highlight, what would, through your travels, through what you've seen from your lens, what are some memorable places that you would highlight here?
Honestly, I think Cherokee and Dare County are probably my top two. You've got an ocean side kind of system that is massive coverage with a helicopter, and then you've got a mountainside system with some of the best equipment you can think of, and they are 100% paramedic. They don't have EMTs, and the way they just run their systems. And you've got Dare County, who have helicopters, and you cross state lines. Those systems have just always, I've been drawn to both because they're so different but amazing at the same time.
Yeah, I think you made the helicopters plural. They only have one.
It's okay. Future, I'm putting it into the universe to bring to Dare County a second helicopter.
They're a poor EMS system. Just one helicopter. And I think some of those similarities where you talk about that, because talking with our friends at Cherokee Travel, where they're going into the national park, similar to what the folks in Dare are doing, whether it's the national park or going offshore with the Coast Guard in Cherokee, they're going to some remote parts, and they're actually going mutual aid into Tennessee doing some stuff. I mean, I remember seeing this map in Travel EMS about trailheads and that stuff, and having some conversations with our friends out there saying, what is this stuff? What is this? Wait, what do you mean? And just being blown away. So
Well, two of the favorite ones that I think you and I talk about there, the Outer Banks and the Boundary, have been taken. So Terry, what are some other places you've visited that you've been fascinated by? As we have, we've been on the road together, we've been on the road apart, but we definitely have visited nearly every single agency in the state. So what are some that stick out to you as being, worth mentioning?
I think I want to talk about one of my favorite agencies, just because it's so different than some of my experiences, and that being Edgecombe. Edgecombe County being a new agency, relatively new state or countywide agency here in the state of North Carolina. Edgecombe County has a really proud tradition and history. If we talk about the roots of Edgecombe County EMS, when we talk about how Edgecombe is standing up a fire department, they've just hired some folks for fire, and so that overarching entity of Edgecombe County Emergency Services, where you got fire, you got EMS, and you got emergency management and fire marshal stuff. I think that's pretty interesting to me. You and I talk about it all the time. The demographic is different out there. They have 3, 4, 5 dialysis centers. There's a lot of poverty. There's trains that's there as well, and so Edgecombe tends to be one of those places that's interesting to me. And then to steal from Kathia, but to go a little bit different, um, uh, but still probably sticking in Eastern North Carolina. Fire based intrigues me because it's not something typically that we do in North Carolina. And so if I stick with my friends out here in northeastern North Carolina, but we could go to Western North Carolina. I don't know their model, their system, their agency as well, but Fairview has been really good supporters of ours. They've had a lot of folks over the years. Some of their folks even wear some stylish cowboy hats. But Currituck Fire and EMS out here in the East, they've got the medical ambulance bus, which they deployed routinely across the state of North Carolina. The Party Rock Fire, they had it out there. Evacuations, a whole bunch of things. They've got a four-wheel drive area where you can only access it by four-wheel drive. That's part of their county they serve. And so now you got to have an ambulance that's driving on a beach. They've got another part of their county that you can only get to via either ferry or by driving into Virginia and driving through Chesapeake and Virginia Beach back into North Carolina. And so I think that's another, just to pick two, just to pick two agencies. It's almost every agency. There are things where I say, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool! I really love this." It's every agency, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad I don't have this." Or how do you deal with that? And so, 102 systems in the state of North Carolina, but wow, each one different. Maybe some of it's haves and have-nots, but some commonalities too of strong heart and people that are passionate and driven.
One of the things that I can bear witness to is we've been doing this long enough inside of our both our officer program and inside of our leadership academy stuff that we've been exposed to folks enough that we have not only seen where they're at, but actually change. So we've in
Yes.
some of these places we've seen folks work up to chief level that were just paramedics a few years ago, and they've been able to come up through and gain various experience. And so it's not just, hey, I remember this about this place. When you even speak to like Cherokee, the Cherokee we learned to begin with, they've had a leadership change there. So and so it's not just things of like which how you found the EMS organization, but what evolved in that EMS organization. Things that come to my mind, I think of Wilkes, and Wilkes opened up a building up there. It seemed like, and I think if I
Yeah,
remember,
like a year and a half ago. Yeah.
I want to say me and Annie went up there to sort of as their open house thing. We were invited because we went up there and did a class or something, and so we were up there to help. I don't know, open up the place or whatever. But I always thought that place was beautiful up there. That's another one that the
Yeah.
Wilkes County we met in the beginning transitioned to a new director and whatnot that's up there, and nice color scheme, take care of their equipment, take care of their people, the views, so Wilkes kind of stands out to me as one of those, um, EMS systems that really resonates with a lot to do there. We talk about sometimes offline about how the potential of something, whether it be the potential of a school or the potential of a district or the potential of an EMS organization or whatever. They have so much potential to do this. There's a lot that can be done here and there and whatnot. But Wilkes seems to be one of those to me that keeps, recycling their potential. So you have the potential to do this and they use it. And then they're moving on to the next thing and they use it and they just keep on keeping on. So that's one of those that kind of stand out to me. And then my other one I would say is Cabarrus. And the reason I think Cabarrus to me stands out strong is because a story that they told me, I think Jimmy or Justin one down there mentioned that the building that they ended up, their headquarters building they made, is a 30-year in the making project of what they went through to get there. But their stick-to-itiveness is what got them there. And ironically, it all has to do with the rock that they built that headquarters on. People didn't want to buy it because they didn't want to have to manage the rock that's on it to build something, whatever. But anyway, so this idea that was birthed 30 years ago, they finally seen come through. And I don't know, maybe it's 2 years ago now, maybe a year. Yeah, I think it's about 2 years ago now that they were able to open that. But that's another system that looks different from, and Justin Allen Thompson gave me a bunch of pictures. I mean, just scores of pictures of stuff where you can see the evolution of that agency as it goes through. And the Cabarrus that was in the 80s ain't the Cabarrus of now. I mean, it's grown so much. It's really, a suburb of Charlotte. And I think to grow and adapt to that, something said about how are you able to move with the punches, right? And so Wilkes, Cabarrus, two of those counties that I feel like they moved with all the punches. So.
And I think as you look at that, Cabarrus and doing this list, I believe we heard in Expo there's 456 agencies across the state of North Carolina. Picking two, there's countless that I leave out because I thought about Cabarrus and I thought about Justin, his social media game, going live, sharing all of the events and all of the things that they have been doing out at Cabarrus. What also strikes me is I was writing something the other day. Sometimes whether it's the agency and EMS is such a small world because there was an assistant medical director who was doing a ride along with our assistant medical director as part of a something or another. And talking with that assistant medical director, oh, you're going back to blah, 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 blah. I know your assistant director. Worked together with them on a couple of different things. And that assistant medical director was shocked that in the East, we knew somebody from the West. Now the West is west of I-95, but where I'm going with this is the people. There was a former manager that two of their former chief, two of their mid-level managers have since stepped into senior leadership roles. They're now running two EMS systems. And that's what I would say. One of the things, that leadership style, that environment that people build for the positive or for the negative.
I mean, we've seen a lot of that growth happen. And I think when we got into this, there was a lot of, I don't know, maybe we just view things differently through that lens. If we're talking about appreciation and education and all that stuff, because it is EMS week, there's so many. We're doing somebody a disservice because we're not mentioning them because of how many great EMS agencies that are out there. And then I begin to think about the ones that you can't just talk about EMS agencies without talking about some of the colleges that are spot on that we go to and really understand EMS, to say, hey, who is really good. And when we're talking about EMS week, it's not just about people on the ambulance. It can be the people in the classroom as well. And there are some of those colleges that have the way that they do business in general is like, can we film this and sort of show this is how you run an EMS program? Because there's some of that stuff that just should be on film or something to say, hey, this is how it's done. And some that come to my mind, and I'm sure you can fill in some of these blanks, but I look at what Mark does with Johnson Community College. Never asked for anything. I think me being more community college relatable, more so than I would say you are at times, Terry, just because you don't live that life and I do. So I go in with, it doesn't matter what they bring or come with. I'm going to fill in the blanks with whatever's missing because I know what they need. And we've been out there and Mark is just there's nothing that you want for, because he's able to lay that out. And I think that says a whole lot for someone that makes the effort, because it's not in the manual. It's not in the program director manual that you must do these things and be welcoming and whatnot. And it seems like every time we do something at Johnson Community College, we got somebody from Johnson EMS that's in the hierarchy to come by just to say hey and thanks for coming. And that's always resonated with me, that the district chief or whatever their makeup is, that somebody's stopping by in a QRV. They're not in the class that day, but it's on their things to do list. It's like fuel the truck up, check your truck off. Don't forget to go by Johnson Community College and see the officer guys over there that's doing the class and give them a welcome. That, that's not in the manual. Where does that come from?
That's amazing.
That's an appreciation I have.
That's one of those gems that are rare to find, but should be common and should be a regular thing throughout the state, throughout every EMS program. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Kathia, you love it because it's that good customer service that we haven't had our customer service revival in a couple of minutes, but where you lay your hands on and cast out the demons of poor customer service, because it's, hey, you are valued and this adds value. And so let's make it worthwhile.
That part isn't in the education piece of it. Those little pieces, where we go back to, we have to teach these people how to clean a station and do those little things. That building that bridge of communication and relationships with the EMS systems and the colleges just isn't a regular thing, and it's not built into.
Well, why do you think that is?
It's not in the manual.
Like you said, it's not in the holy grail of how we started.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go through let me flip through my book here, and oh yeah, I guess it's not in here. My bad.
I think it's great. I think every EMS system should be stopping by the college and going, hey, how are you guys doing? It gives those students that spark, that desire to push hard and work hard and go, hey, this is my interview process during this time frame. And people are looking, people are watching, and I want to finish top of the class. I want to be the best, and I want to absorb everything. And to see agencies coming in just to say, hey, I think that presence is big.
Well, and from Brunswick County to Cabarrus County to Cherokee Tribal up through Wilkes, down to Johnson, you see agencies end up supporting what the initiatives are and stuff. But on the flip side of that, there are still pockets of where we have been somewhere and not anybody from that area would be inside of a class, but it'd still be full from people outside of the area. And it's like, hey, where's the interconnecting support for what's going on in your education system with your operations system? And you get various. So I don't want to forget that we are so diverse in North Carolina that we have seen the blend of super duper support that ain't in the manual. Why do they do it? But they do it, and they do it well, and overwhelming support. But you also have pockets of, for whatever reason, don't have the money to do it. They don't send out enough notification to say, hey, this is what we're doing. They don't promote themselves enough to really recruit folks to come in and do that. And I think that lets us know there's still some work to do to in these different pockets of North Carolina. They all have their different reasons for why they can and cannot do stuff.
So let me ask you this, since we have chased away from whatever it was that we were supposed to be talking about, and you have made it about you.
My favorite.
You keep locking up. This is my favorite. And so do you think when we talk about EMS week, are we forgetting about the college? Are we forgetting about that college system? Are we forgetting about those students? Let's start with the ladies first, John. You'll make it all about you, but Kathia, do you think when we talk about EMS week, are we spending enough time talking about the colleges, the students, that part of the EMS system?
I'm gonna say no. We don't spend enough time at all. And after going down all these rabbit holes we have, I truly believe that might be the missing link.
It's not in the manual. It's not in the book.
Well, let's write it in
John C., what do you think?
right now.
I'm writing that down.
Write it in. Chisel it. Chisel it.
Keep going. You know, one thing, I'm surprised you left out about Edgecombe County is the amazing community paramedic program they have there. Out of all things
Yep.
they have,
Oh,
let me tell you, this is from a guy who didn't know. All right, he going back to this just a guy type people that for whatever reason they have, and there's several of them out there that you say, where did you get this? Where did you get this level from? But when you, where I'm getting at with that is it is the people, sometimes more than the brand of what they're wearing. It is the Dalton Barretts that are like passionate to go out there and create something that a Mike Campbell did well in Stanley and a David Glendenning did well at New Hanover. And then you have it reinvented again, and I'm leaving names out. I'm putting names out there just to show that there are different people that have put that stuff out there. And it comes down to the passion behind the person having the support of the agency. That's why it's easy for some colleges to stand out, but also hospitals. You got community paramedic programs. You also have, those folks that are in the hospital. They are still EMS. They are still doing the paramedic thing. When you look at, Novant, if you look at Cape Fear, if you look at First Health, all of those are different and sometimes only viewed. Somebody jokingly said the other day that I can't remember which one it was, but it's like on the website, you can't even tell EMS is a part of that hospital system, but they are, and they're fairly large from that. And, but you wouldn't be able to know. So in their mind in that area, maybe EMS is taking a back seat because it's a hospital based system. So I think when it comes to education, it's going to take more than 7 days. It'll take more than 7 days to get folks. And then what's your goal? What's your goal during EMS week? If it's not appreciation and if it's not highlighting the greatness that is our EMS system, then what are the outcomes we're looking for at this? Because up until this episode of what we've been talking about, I thought it was a show of appreciation from the agency to their employees to say thank you for the things that you do. Here's a week of pizza and ice cream or whatnot, and whatever the things are. And and I was totally prepared for that conversation, and then to hear it put the way that you have, I think you're right. I think it's probably meant more to EMS to not take a break and bask in the light, but more or less step up to the plate and let's use this week for emphasis on certain things to make people aware. But I think if you're saying that, it's going to take more than a week.
It definitely is going to. Go ahead, Kathia.
Oh, no, I was agreeing with that. It's completely changed. I've sat for the last few years going, EMS week, what are we doing for our people for EMS week? What do they not have? What are their needs? How can we personalize, these gifts throughout the week? What are we cooking for them? But, you've just brought a whole new lens of, this, we should be out there with the community, educating, showing them who we are and what we do, and doing so much more than what we started this episode with, of appreciating our people. It's so much bigger than that.
So I would say if to talk to start to put a pretty bow and to start to wind the education piece, and I think sometimes that's across agencies or across the profession. I was blessed to be able to sit and have breakfast with our good friend, our friend Antoine Brown, and Dalton just so happened to be there as well.
Oh,
And
fancy you bringing his name up now that I've said it. Okay.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
and credit where credit is due. Dalton's doing an amazing job. Those good leaders that just get out of the way sometimes, and I see that as Antoine. Antoine fights the battles when it's necessary and
Not
gets
the
out
way,
of the way and lets
there's no room for you here.
yeah, and lets Dalton do his thing when he needs to. But they were educating me about their community paramedicine program. I had talked with somebody who through the Leadership Academy went out and spent 2 days with Dalton, and they talked about the hotels that they visited and the things that they were doing. And I was asking them a little, what is this information that you're sitting down with these folks that are battling addiction? As you sit down with them, what is this? What is this about you pulling a computer out? What do you got, a PowerPoint or something? Tell me about this. And they were educating me about what they do is they get samples from those that are battling addiction, and they send these samples to the labs at UNC, and UNC gives them information back to say what the chemical makeup is. So, hey, this medicine that you're shooting up, it's got antifreeze in it. This medicine that you're shooting up, exactly, Kathia, and the face that you just made, that's what they're driving home to these individuals, and the relationships they're forming as they educate their community. The individual who did the ride along was telling me that one of these folks who's battling addiction saw Dalton, and this is somebody who they don't have two nickels to rub together, as my father would say. And with her money, she saw a keychain at some store and bought a keychain with Dalton's name on it and said, Dalton, I saw this and I thought of you. And so that story at the breakfast table really just brought home to me that education piece and educating the community. And man, I think letting the community know these are the things that we're doing. This is the value that we bring to things and to pieces. That for me, that's the power in that education. Those are people who I consider to be, my friends who I call when I need something. Edgecombe is on that top speed dial list. And there was something that I learned that day about their system. I knew they did community paramedicine. I knew they were leading the way with things. I knew they were transforming people's tomorrows. But to hear the specifics of it was just really awe-inspiring.
That's powerful.
Kathia, any final thoughts for EMS week as we
have a lot of work to do.
We do. We missed Sunday, Health, Wellness, and Resilience Day. John C. Wilson, any final thoughts?
It should be a month. Happy EMS month.